So another month down of 2018. How quick is it going? It feels shockingly quick. But I've got 5 more things for you. I've got my favourite YouTube channel, my favourite book, my favourite app, my favourite blog or podcast, and my favourite purchase. So let's get into it. So first things first, the YouTube channel. I'm going to start with a little bit of preamble. I've been really getting back into baking recently, baking bread mainly, and quick little search on YouTube, I was looking for tips on like hydration levels and stuff like that, kind of complicated stuff, and I found this channel. It's called Bake with Jack. It's really great, no nonsense tips on specific things that go wrong when you're baking, sort of frequently asked questions and things like that. Go check it out if you're into baking bread, that is. So the next thing is the book that I've been reading. It's a book by one of my favourite architects, Daniel Libeskind. It documents his sort of journey to creating the master plan for the World Trade Center site. But he also talks about one of my favourite buildings, which is the Jewish Museum in Berlin. Absolutely love that place. Such a great use of architecture to kind of be the exhibit. The museum is obviously kind of documenting Jewish history, but a lot of it is to do with the Holocaust and how Jews were treated in that time period in Germany. And he describes in this book how he came up with the ideas for that. Also, he's the architect behind the Imperial War Museum North, which is a couple of minutes down the road from me. Beautiful building, very, very simple compared to the Jewish Museum, but also really powerful. I recommend giving this book a read if you're into architecture or you're just after a decent autobiography read and some sort of non-fiction read. I really recommend this book. The next thing is something that's been on everyone's radar, let's be honest. It's been on everyone's radar for a long time. It's Pinterest. Pinterest. Same thing. I have tried numerous times to get into Pinterest. Recently, I have had some really good advice from people at Weblog North, which is a really amazing group that I'm part of. They have a YouTube channel. Their latest video at the time of this recording is on getting better at Pinterest. Basically what I've started using it for is mood boards with clients. It's really helpful to have this back and forward, this conversation using images, because what I do is visual, purely visual, and it really helps communicate that. But their video, which I'm going to link here, goes into detail on how to build a following on there and just create that kind of community that you get on other social media, which kind of is social media. It's more of a search engine, but it's kind of social media. So for the podcast or blog, it's another podcast. So Audible started doing their Audible stories or something like that, I think it's called. And basically it's just podcasts, but on Audible. I think they're free only if you're a member. So I don't know if you have to maybe pay the membership and you get it free, but it's worth checking out because this podcast was probably the best true crime podcast since Serial season 1.
Oh yeah, season 2 was boring.
And it's called West Cork, and it's about a murder that happened in West Cork.
Yeah, in the late 90s, was it 97?
Yeah.
I think they said it's 20 years since it happened when they were putting together the podcast, so.
Yeah, so we're not going to spoil anything. The person who was murdered, it's, they're pretty upfront straight away, so it's not going to spoil anything. It's a French tourist called Sophie
Toscan de la Plantier?
I think it's just de Plantier.
De Plantier?
Yeah. The podcast is, I think, an 8 episode.
It's longer than that, I think
Is
it's
it?
12?
12 episodes.
13, because there's a bit of an extra one, sort of loose ends one at the end, which is a bit boring, but...
Okay, so it's a 13 episode run. It follows the kind of investigation of the murder?
Yeah, they go back, they talk to people who were around at the time, people who the police spoke to, and different sort of people within the police as well who dealt with it, and they discuss sort of what went wrong and all the issues that arose from like the moment that they found the body that kind of made it really difficult for them to ever find out who'd done it. So that to this day, no one has actually been charged with the murder.
So it was handled badly, and the thing that I loved most about this podcast, apart from, you know, its amazing production value and things like that, was the way they handled the reveal of
big twist
of who they
it was
who
great.
they think it is. Yeah, it's worth listening to just for that moment where you realise this is who they think it is.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever listened to a podcast or any sort of true crime thing when that was done quite so well. I think it was really, really well done.
Definitely don't look it up beforehand, because that'll ruin it for you. Go into it blind. I can't recommend it enough.
No, I really enjoyed it. Listened to the whole thing in a couple of days when we were on the road driving around. Listened to it all pretty much in one go. It was great.
Yeah, you'll really enjoy it. Right, thank you. Okay, next, the purchase that I've made. I've needed a monitor for a long time, and I stumbled upon this one that I'm using right now. I stumbled upon that on eBay, brand new, for like half price. So I picked it up, and it's a recorder as well. It's got all the features of a great video monitor, but it also records to a hard drive. I didn't need that, but actually it's good peace of mind for having recording in two places. I really like recording straight onto an SSD. It's great. If you're after a monitor, I recommend these. There's great deals on eBay. It's the Atomos Ninja Blade. I may do a more of an in-depth, not a review on it, but a more of an in-depth, like how to use this thing. And that's it from me. Hopefully you take something from this. I'll be doing this every month, so if you want to subscribe and sort of find out about that, check out the videos at the end. I'm going to link last month's picks along with one of the newest backdrops, the dark textured backdrop. Really recommend that video if you want to get that moody look in your food photography. That's it from me. See you next time.